Chapter 12, Pronominal Suffixes with Masculine Nouns. If you look at Section 2 of Chapter 12, you'll see a listing of the boxes that you must memorize for the pronominal suffixes in Hebrew. You'll put these suffixes onto nouns in order to get like possessive pronouns and stuff like that. And if you look at Section 3, you can see that in the left column, the noun is in the singular, so you say my horse. But in the right column, the boxes used are used for plural nouns, and therefore it's my horses. So you get the plural nouns in the right column. So again, going back to Section 2, you do need to memorize these boxes. That's very important. And if you memorize these boxes well, then really the attaching of these boxes to the nouns and then the crunching of the rules, the 5 rules of syllables, will not be that difficult. But let me make a few comments, though, about these boxes. Again, the left column is for the singular nouns, and the right column is for the plural nouns. And notice the 1CS, again, that's first common singular, again, common referring to both masculine and feminine. And so you do get the 1CS and the 1CP, the first common plural, again includes both men and women there. Okay, and finally, if you look on the right column of plural nouns, you'll notice that many of them have segols or seres. And the ones that have segol and seres, the difference is, what does the next syllable have? If the next syllable has a comet, like for instance this one, this box here for your plural nouns, your 2MS. You get segol frequently when you have a following comets. And if you do not get a following comets, you get a sere. And again, this is excluding your 1CS, your 2FS, and 3MS. But for all the other forms, you'll get segol when you have a following comets. And if you don't have a comets in the following syllable, then you'll get a sere here. And again, this goes back to what you learned with things like articles and interrogative hays. Hebrew really likes the combination, like you see with the article. This combination here of segol then a comets. Hebrew really likes that, and again, that's what you're seeing in these situations. Also, if you look in the singular nouns column, you'll see that in the 2MS and then in your 2MP, 2FP, I have written beside them vocal schwa, and then for your 2MP, 2FP, I have silent schwa written. And what you want to do is regard the schwa in the 2MS as a vocal schwa, but the schwas of the 2MP and 2FP, you want to regard those as silent schwa. Now I have a footnote there that tells you that these are really what was called medial schwas. They're medium in the sense of they're in the middle between a vocal schwa and a silent schwa. They're silent enough to close a syllable, but they're vocal enough to keep a dagish lene from going into a begad kafat letter that follows it. And so that's why they're called medial. I call them political because just like a good politician, these schwas are on both sides of the issue. And they're both vocal and silent. They can go either way. And that's what a good politician can do too. So we'll call them political schwas. But for now, you want to consider the 2MS as vocal and your 2MP, 2FP as silent schwas. And again, in Section 3, you can see how they are attached. And with sus, of course, you have a historic long shurik, and so there's no real changes. So when you go to 12.4, that's when you're going to have changes. And so let's look at Section 4 of Chapter 12. Again, we're going to use devar. And with devar, we'll start with the kametzes. And again, what you're going to have is a 3-step process. And if you looked at the very end of Section 4, you'll see those 3 steps. First thing we want to do is restore the protovowels. And so the kametz goes back to patach, and there we have the patach, the 2 patachs. Next, we want to put the box on, and so let's do a 1CS, and we're going to do singular, 1CS. That's what we'll start with. And so we'll have a box with the accent, always very important, the accent with the hirik yod. And so now, if you want to, we'll put the syllable lines in, and now we're ready to crunch the rules. And so under the bait, we have a pretonic open syllable. Hebrew requires a long vowel. We lengthen that. And then in your first syllable, we're now in an open propretonic syllable. And of course, it gets reduced to a vocal schwa. And once we reduce that, we have to get rid of that old syllable line. And this is our answer, devari. And so that will be answer number 1. Let's now look at the 2ms. And this time I'm going to go ahead and start with the protoform. So the first step I've already done. The next thing is the box, of course. And with this one, the accent does not occur on the box. The accent occurs over the final kaf. A vocal schwa, or any type of schwa for that matter, can never take an accent in Hebrew. So remember, I said to you, you've got to consider this a vocal schwa. Vocal schwas begin syllables, and so we're going to have to divide this right here, and then we'll divide this here. Okay, now we're ready to go ahead and work the rules of syllables. This will now be considered a pretonic open. We're going to have to lengthen there. Again, this is the tonic syllable here. This will be the pretonic syllable. Again, the schwa is clearly not being seen as a syllable here. And so we're going to lengthen to a long kametz there. And the dalet again is in the open propretonic position. You're going to get reduction. And so we get the vocal schwa, and this is our answer. Devaracha is the answer here. And let's do a 2MP, because that's just a little bit different. And again, I'll start with the first step already completed. And now we will put the box on with the 2MP ending. Now we're going to consider that a silent schwa. Again, the accent here is at the end. So we're going to have to divide here and here. Since this is a silent schwa must close a syllable. So we must put the syllable marker there. Okay. This syllable here is rule 3, namely closed unaccented. Hebrew requires a short vowel. We'll leave it alone. But again, this syllable is where all the action is. It's the originally open propretonic. It will get reduced to a vocal schwa and again attached to the next consonant-vowel-consonant combination. And so we'll say devarchem. So that'll be it for that. Now, we want to go to the plural nouns. And for the plural nouns, let's try again the 2ms. And again, I will start with the protoform. So there's step 1 there. I just took the kametzes back to patachs. And then what we want to do is attach the box. And again, you've got to memorize that. If you have a question about whether to put segol or sere there, you have a kametz at the end, so you know to go with segol. And so, again, we're pretty much ready to go. This is a pretonic open. It's got a lengthen, and then we have a propretonic open originally. And so it must reduce, and this is it. Devarecha is the answer here. And now let's do a 2FP. And again, we will start with our first step of restoring the proto-vowels, and we're doing a 2FP. And so the box looks something like this for your 2FP. And now we're ready to, as it were, break the syllables. And so when we break the syllables, it'd be something like this. And your accent is here, of course. Always put the accent on these things. Those are called heavy endings, the chem, chen, and hem, hen. They're heavy endings. They always take the accent. You have a pretonic syllable here. And it's got to be long, and you got long. It's historic long. And then these two are originally open propretonics, so you know both of them will be reduced to vocal schwas. And that means you got 2 vocal schwas. Beginning a word, schwa fight, you're going to get the hirik. If this were a guttural, again, you'd get a patach because gutturals prefer patach. And so this is our answer. Divrei chen is the answer. All right. And again, I want to point out to you in the end of section 4 here, you get the 3 steps that you need to follow. And that's very important that you know those 3 steps. And then in section 5, we have the pronominal suffix. We're talking about syntax here. And if a word, like let's say Suso, his horse, A word like this is definite because it has the pronominal suffix. If a word has a pronominal suffix, it is definite. You'll never have an article and a pronominal suffix at the same time. That is impossible. We can't do that for Hebrew. This is definite already. It doesn't need the article. Now, if you were going to make this a direct object, frequently, Hebrew likes to put the et, and so that's what they would do. Remember, it would be with a seire if there's no makef. It would have its own little accent then. But if you put a makef on, then its accent shifts. This is now closed and accented. That's why you get the segol, of course. And so just keep that in mind that, again, with pronominal suffixes, if they are the direct object, frequently they will get the marker of the direct object, definite direct object, the et. Well, now you need to read the chapter and do the exercises to chapter 12.